do that. We're live, but take your time. We'll let some people come in. I think it also takes some time to register and find the event, because today actually we have opened up the event. They only have access to this specific event, so they wouldn't be able to see all the rooms. But yeah, I see we have a bunch of people. So guys that are listening in, we are starting in a bit, just giving a little bit more time for everybody to get into the session. Joe, how did you find the space in a circle?
Great.
How was good, right?
Okay. Yeah, really easy to use. And I'm already, jumping into some of the conversations happening on there. It's super useful.
Awesome. Great to hear. Okay.
Because we can't see what you can see.
No. I'm still waiting for everybody.
Well, often if you've got one meeting can often overlap with another, isn't it? By the time you've finished one, particularly if you're recording it and stuff. So yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to start sharing. All right. Everybody can see my slide here?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
All good.
Awesome. All righty. So guys, welcome to our session on Omnichannel in influencer marketing. In our community, influencer strategists, for the past couple of weeks, there have been quite a lot of discussions around the shift in influencer marketing, where we're looking at influencer marketing as a standalone channel towards creators and integrated across the media mix. Many teams still, unfortunately, do not know how to do this and are using creators in isolation. The opportunity is actually very, very big right now when it comes to creator-led assets that are integrated across paid, owned, retail, PR, etc. And we kind of have a lot of data showing that this is actually not just something that the influencer marketing industry is promoting, but something that big players like WPP, IPA are now proving with quite significant data. So we're going to look at why omnichannel matters specifically for creators. What are the super touch points, as we call it? And as you can see on this graph, on the right side, we have creators as absolutely the best channel long-term. When it comes to short-term, there has been quite a lot of discussion about how creators are actually working for short-term benefits of sales. And when we merge those two things, we actually see that integrating influencers across email, for example, abandoned charts on products, etc., are creating significant lifts in conversion rates. And there is a very, very simple explanation for that. People trust people. For the past 4 years, we see that the trust parameter in terms of brands, institutions, politicians, etc., the trust is dropping more and more. Whereas the increase in trust in influencers, especially recommendations and product recommendations from 2022 to 2024 has increased with 12%. There's a mistake on this slide, actually. You see on the right side is 2022, and on the left side, you see 2024. So it's an uplift of 12%. So obviously, it makes sense to utilize creator assets across the media mix. Today, we have two amazing members of our community that we want to introduce you to that are going to dig into more about omnichannel strategies for influencer marketing campaigns. With us is Joe Friend from Pepper Agency, is the co-founder and director. And Pepper is really an agency. If you've not heard about them before, you will definitely in the future. They have the hand on the pulse, as we say it in Denmark, on culture. And we have Olivier Billion from Wycombe, CEO. And I don't know if you guys need an explanation of Econ, but basically, if I need to explain in few words, they're one of the biggest agencies in the world. So, Gordon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Janan, and hello, Olivier and Joe. Lovely to have you here. So we're going to have a real deep dive into what I think is a really fascinating subject. So I thought before we get into some questions, I thought we start with a campaign. And Olivier, you've worked with some amazing some of the world's biggest brands using Omnichannel very successfully. And one of the ones that you shared with me before this, which I really loved, was with Victoria Beckham and Bioderma, where you built 3 complementary pillars, bringing together the sort of emotional story with Victoria and her daughter Harper as well, really adding to the whole campaign. And I think you also, and you're going to tell me more about it, you worked with Alexis Granite, the dermatologist, to bring all of these together to create this amazing event. So from your standpoint, where do you think the whole campaign, came together?
Thank you, Gordon. Look, I could give you an answer that would take an hour, or an answer that would give you a few minutes, because it's such an interesting project. First, when the brand came, it was to celebrate, I think, the 30th anniversary of Omnichannel, which is the iconic product of Bioderma, a product that has been driven outrageous amount of million years after years. But when we came into the room with the team, there was a need to create an event for the anniversary of the product, and they wanted to go with influencers. We were at that time talking about a 6-digit budget. The reality is that so far they had never engaged with influencers and paid them. Of course, they have sent hundreds of products, but that time they were ready to pay influencers. At first sight, when a brand has never paid a creator and start doing it, to me, it's an anomaly. As the industry has become more and more commercial, it has become more and more obvious to pay creators. The reality is that it's not always the answer. So we have questioned many things. First, if the product has been successful for 30 years, do you really need creators? 2, what kind of creators do you need? And 3, who are we talking to? Are we talking to regional PR, global CMO? Is this a request from the CEO? Who came with this need? And as we discussed with the brand, we came to realize that going with creators as a silo, as deliverables, could actually damage the longevity of not the brand, but the marketing mix. So as you are a supplier, you are making money out of it. So if you tell your client that they should not do it, same as a doctor or like a plastic surgeonist, they might go to another service provider. But I think we got some guts to say, look, certainly the brand deserves a face, but it has to be a decision that is approved by the company, not by the brand. Meaning different teams need to support it. Otherwise, whatever amount of impression we deliver afterward, there is a risk that things does not satisfy. We have moved the conversation from driving impression to driving efficiency internally. So this is where the omni-channel comes, because you have to speak with CRM, with commercial, with e-commerce, etc., etc. And we have agreed that considering the size of this brand, the right amount to spend is more in the millions than hundreds of K, and that it has to be a decision approved by every market, every teams. So usually the conversation start going from silo to omnichannel the moment you try to add a digit in the budget. Of course, that serves the agency, but that also serves the brand. In that case, we have seen that we could work with a celebrity. But as the brand never had a face, if you work with a celebrity and put her face everywhere, again, there is a risk to damage the brand or at least the marketing mix in the future, because if there is a celebrity one day, maybe you will expect to have a celebrity every day. So the conversation could not be about getting Victoria Beckham face associated with the product on every channel. It had to be something where it was more. So we, of course, know Victoria Beckham and her ecosystem and business model. Her brand, Victoria Beckham Fashion, which has been there for a long time, has been doing and performing very well recently. There is a very good sentiment on Victoria as an entrepreneur, as a designer. So again, sentiment is not followers, right? So you can have a lot of followers, but they are not positive about you. For example, I dislike Mr. Beast. I'm not positive. I'm tired of it. So anyway, the question is evolving. So we came to go to Victoria Beckham, not with deliverables, but with a business challenge. How can you turn it into an event? Because it's the anniversary of the brand. How can we create some things together and not just put your face? And how can we add a dermatological, a skincare component, because the product is invisible, it's just to wash your face. As the conversation became more about a business partnership between Victoria Beckham company and Bioderma company, there was a need to think omnichannel, which was, we will create a product. So the Janan, I don't see it on my screen. Do our members see it or not?
I can share the campaign visuals again if you want.
Yeah. Please share the visual. I think it's more appealing than our four faces.
Sure. I'll do that.
No. So the first element, it's Victoria has redesigned the bottle. And as you may notice, the logo, VB, is more inspired by Victoria Beckham, the brand, than Victoria Beckham, the individual. That is one. Two, we have produced a lot of content with a dermatologist, which was very effective because the product is being sold in pharmacy. And you have to give credit and justice to the professional, the pharmacist that recommend the product. And then we have made some integration into Fashion Week and parties and a film with her daughter. So long story short, the campaign became more complicated. Execution was much longer, but at the end, what started as a creator campaign with a 6-digit budget became a company event with a larger budget that got from marketing to CEO and from CEO to retail, CRM, e-commerce, etc. After that, we have seen how the company has transformed its influencer practice, and it has become, I would say, a good transformation time. And there is no secret. It was a blast, a huge success. A few million bottles were sold. And of course, the economy of the campaign was also not just about paying someone for impression, but a business partnership that resulted in millions of bottles being sold. Voilà. Sorry, Gordon, it was a very long intro.
No, it's absolutely fascinating to hear, actually, to be honest. And one of the things that really resonates with me, and it just reinforces why this is such an important subject, because presumably the brand came with you with a brief and a budget for influencer marketing, and you with your team have started to really dig deep into the challenges of what they're trying to do and actually almost rescope a bigger campaign that involves multi-channels all the way through. And that's why I think it's such a great example. Is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, I have many colleagues from the industry who come to me and say, Olivier, how did you turn Econ from 1 million to 150 million? And I said, look, the reality is that whatever brand you meet, you have to question the validity of the need and the level of decision and ambition. So a few weeks ago, we took care of Beyonce at Formula One. That is pretty significant.
Amazing.
That's our, we are an agency working for Formula One. But a few years ago, we would brought some TikTok, YouTube guys to Formula One. And today, the caliber has changed because the Formula One business cannot host a TV series on Netflix that reach hundreds of millions of viewers while getting those small creators. It's not logic. It's too tiny.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for that insight. Really helpful. Joe, I want to just dive into a particular subject now, which is all about being consistent. Because you've often talked about omnichannel being, and we often use the word consistency when we talk about influencer marketing, but I think it's so important that the brand is seen everywhere, every touch point, isn't it? It's not just about online. So, love to get your thoughts on there. What are some of the 2 or 3 decisions maybe that you need to be making up front to make sure that you get that consistency right?
Yeah, and I've got a strong opinion on this because my background actually before starting in influencer marketing is I spent a decade in radio advertising with Global specifically. And I was part of, if anybody's ever worked in the old school radio days where the word AV campaign was thrown around the room, or pro campaign, or there was loads of different jargon being thrown. And essentially it was the start of radio becoming more omni-channel rather than just audio, and video was a big crucial part of that. If we throw ourselves 10 years on now, and in particular, the combination of digital, traditional, online, offline, all of these media segments that brands often integrate into their marketing mix, it feels like, in particular, over the last 3, maybe 4 years, the omni-channel perspective of brands has become more desirable. And there is a real reason for it, and it is consistency. I think audiences' behavior across the board has changed significantly, and it will continue to change. And if we look at social media alone, I would argue that it's without a doubt the most fast-paced media space in current existence for brands to speak with targeted audiences. And whilst that's just one channel, it's important that the brands are obtainable via other channels. And so consistency is key. Otherwise, it can quite quickly create confusion. So the 3 things I would recommend any organization to think about when it comes to building an omni-channel strategy is, first and foremost, putting audience first, because it's all too often that, Olivier mentioned himself, challenge the brief, think about actually what the brand need, but ultimately the brand are going to receive what they need by thinking about what the audience want. So that's the first part, what audiences desire. The second part is why they desire it. I think it's crucial, because it's one thing serving them something that they want, but actually understanding why they want it will then achieve the third segment, and that's how the audiences are going to be left feeling after engaging in one way or another with the brand's messaging. And ultimately, it's the get to buy theory, which has existed in marketing for years, if not centuries. And it's really challenging and condensing that brief and considering an overarching creative that could be weaved across these different channels. And I thought this is a good opportunity actually to bring this to life. So taking a leaf from Olivier's page and talking case study, but slightly different through the lens of research, which is something I would encourage all brands to consider, especially if they've not already actively engaging in omni-channel strategy. And this is a great way of asking what the audience want. And in our case, we surveyed social users across 5 key territories. So it's the US, UK, Australia, Mexico, and Thailand. And it was for one of the world's most famous children's IPs, Care Bears, who are very much on a vengeance to become relevant again on the basis of I mean, if we look at brands like Labubu, suddenly they came out of nowhere and now everybody knows who they are and they're a desirable collection. In the research that we hosted with thousands of social users, there were some key findings, and 72% of those Care Bear audiences told us that they spend over 6 hours a week on social. So there is evidence that their audience are active, incredibly active on social. 64% of those same audiences told us then that they save social content because it features a product or a recommendation of some kind that resonates, and therefore they save it because they're interested in maybe revisiting that content at a later stage. So there is then that consideration evidence. And this is something to consider too. It's engagement is often overlooked. Each engagement opportunity holds a very different value and often suggests a very different outcome. Most interestingly, from this research, 53% of them told us that they make a purchase after further research when being influenced something, and that isn't necessarily via an influencer, but content that is served to them across the board, whether that's digital or in other spaces. And it is interesting, though, in the world of digital, only 14% buy immediately. So we focus a lot of our efforts into these call to actions with click to buy, click to subscribe, get the offer.
Yeah.
And whilst that is, of course, really important to drive an immediate performance, actually you need to think about the long-term efforts. And I think it shines back to that first slide, looking at how creator in particular has a longer lasting impact. And so to summarize, consistency is crucial, because all of these, I mean, this is just one research piece. There are thousands out there. And the biggest challenge that often organizations face is not recognizing what audiences want and how then to deal with that across several channels.
Love that. One of the things that really jumped out at me was the importance of creators in the research process. And we start to think that they have got these such engaged communities, which can be hugely valuable to brands, can't they? And that is also part of the whole omni-channel process. So
exactly.
Yeah,
it's
great.
Just something to add, actually.
Go on. I was just going to say, have you done that with other brands using that research formula? You have.
Yeah. And it's not so, in this particular instance with Care Bears, we utilized our own product, influencermarketingresearch.com. But actually, you've hit the nail on the head, Gordon, because you don't necessarily have to use established research tools. You can lean into creators and utilize functionalities that already exist in social platforms, i.e. one of the most famous polls on Instagram stories, or question boxes for maybe more bespoke data gathering. And a real life example of this is Graze, the food or snack subscription brand. When we first started working with them, and it was all revolved around increasing subscriptions. Of course, a numbers game to please stakeholders. However, that conversation blossomed into an opportunity for the product team to actually use influencers to engage online audiences to ask what new products that they desire. And it included the textures, the flavors, and any other products that maybe their product team had never thought of. And the findings that we gathered via influencers were then utilized to be able to excite current customers through CRM. So it was a social piece, research piece via influencers that actually was then leveraged to ensure that the take-through rates of current customers remained, to encourage them to stay subscribed to try these new products.
Yeah, great. I mean, in fact, it reminds me of a story a while back where an influencer agency wanted to develop a sugar cane variant in South America, and they decided to use a number of fitness creators and fly them over to a hotel destination for about 3 or 4 days. And the creators with the brand design this new product, the range, the colors, the marketing strategy. But what they were also able to do is touch base with their audiences while this was going on. So they had this almost this real-time feedback. So of course, when the brand came to be launched, not only have you got this bunch of creators that are really wedded to the success of it, but also their audiences as well. So yeah, great. Olivier, I'm just thinking about, we're talking about omni-channel here. which is obviously from a positive point of view, but is there going to be where really a single channel is the only way to do something? Perhaps where would you recommend, staying single channel, and perhaps why?
Is there a way? No, it's sometimes it's pretty obvious. Look, sometimes it makes sense just to make a TV spot. Sometimes it makes sense just to make billboard nearby. Sometimes it makes sense to just do influencer. What doesn't make sense is not to ask the question.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Whatever you do, during the weekend, actually, I was just saying that I don't like a lot Mr. Beast, but we did a project during the weekend with Mr. Beast because Mr. Beast visited a museum in Abu Dhabi together with Chris Hemsworth. You can see the content on social media, and it is pretty cool. Things were really organic because we found out that Mr. Beast was in Dubai for the 1 billion summit. Got in touch, brought him to Abu Dhabi. We were taking care of Chris Hemsworth at the same time for another purpose. There was no deliverables for Chris Hemsworth to meet with Mr. Beast or to make a content. But again, we ask the questions to ourselves. Do we do only one channel with Mr. Beast and get him to come make a video at the museum? Or do we do something, let's call it multi-channel, because we're going to bring a celebrity that can drive organic PR coverage? Do we get the museum to repost all of that? Do we get them to start working on a city guide or whatever, etc., etc.? And one of the questions that came into the brainstorming is, do we ask those guys to record an audio guide for the visitors?
What a great idea.
You know, when you turn on your Waze on your phone, you can choose the voice. Yeah. And in some museum, you can choose if you want the audio guide to be X, Y, and Z. How would the Gen Z react if they visit the History Museum with the comment of Mr. Beast? At the end, for simplicity, the campaign was one reel. The campaign, what am I saying? The encounter became one reel, but we asked the question to ourselves, how can we do something that goes into other channels? When you ask the question, not only you serve the brand, because you can leverage that piece of content, but you also serve the creator, because that can get them extra exposure, that can get them extra positive sentiment, etc., etc. And a good deal with a creator is a deal where you create value for them that is not just about the money. Getting Mr. Beast to create a content with Chris Hemsworth and the content to be co-posted creates value. Okay, so again, you can take the question of omnichannel in many ways. One of the ways I like to take it is through a brainstorming that allows teams to connect with other teams. It's like a door opener, even for their corporation. Think of the PR girl at the museum who can go to the content team and discuss this idea of an audio guide. Maybe something else is going to come out of there.
Yeah.
So that's one. And the second element is you create more value for the creator. You move the conversation from deliverable and budget to partnership and potential.
Love it. I mean,
but look, just in terms of numbers, if I give you the example of that museum, which is the National History Museum, which has just opened in Abu Dhabi, we got hundreds of creators to come just to make content for social media. But it's just like sometime you need to ask the question to yourselves.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Love that. And again, it just reminds us about challenging the brief, looking at, acting like a creative agency ourselves and tapping into these creators as early as we possibly can. Joe, I want to look at, how should brands think about the role of each channel, social, paid, owned, and emerging within a single ecosystem? Because I know you've worked with ambassadors like Simon Squibb and the Financial Times, which was really fantastic. Perhaps you can talk a little bit more about this and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, Peppers naturally fell into the world of working with the majority of publishing organisations, the Financial Times being one. And with that, we kind of accidentally coined a phrase to make sure that all of the creator partnerships that we help to build and the content that they create feels editorial and not advertorial. So it was language that the publishing industry in particular that could really resonate with. And actually, that can be used everywhere, because every brand, the secret ingredient to any successful creator partnership is very much making sure the content is natural. And in the instance with the Financial Times, we've built a growing list of ambassadors, actually, a mixture of either highly recognized content creators or very authoritative and entrepreneurial mindsets that have grown in more so the business side of the world, and equally celebrities. And actually, I think the line is naturally quite blurred these days between if they're a content creator or if they are celebrity. I mean, I'd argue that they're the same, just serving content in very different ways, or if they can make the content themselves, I should say. And in this instance with Simon Squibb, it became what started as just a ad hoc creator partnership brief, so single channel, actually became more omni-channel focused, because after hosting some thorough due diligence around Simon Squibb, above and beyond what we all recognise him as and his the nature of his content style, we discovered that he is a Financial Times subscriber. He's connected with a vast majority of the top editors of the Financial Times, and often meets them on a monthly basis. And so naturally, it felt right to consider a bigger partnership here. And so with Simon in particular, tapping into his main creative, where if you're not familiar, I'd recommend having a look at his channel after this session. It's all revolved around dreams, and he would often stop people in the street, either public or celebrities. Again, the series has adapted slightly, in particular more recently. And he would simply just ask them in a street interview what their dreams are. And he would then find ways of being able to help that dream come to life, whether it's more financial investment to build their business dreams, or sharing recommendations based off of his own life skill sets. And he was one of the agency owners of a large Chinese agency some time ago now. And what that allowed us to do is tap into the Financial Times core ethos of providing business news. So it was a really nice integration into the style of Simon Squibb. Simon then created a content series, uploading the content on his own channels. But the beauty of the creator industry is almost two birds, one stone. So whilst you can plan an omni-channel strategy, actually leaning on content creators allows for the assets to be developed, and you can then scatter those assets in different areas. And in the instance of the Financial Times, our core KPI was on growing their CRM to maintain communication with warm leads, either current customers or potential customers if they haven't quite subscribed. And the content series was then edited in short form, dropped into the Financial Times CRM. So audiences were first met by seeing it on social. Current audiences were then delivered the content in short form styles on CRM. And it's gone above and beyond then, actually. Our work continues as the Financial Times. So leveraging recognizable voices, content creators as their radio advertisements. And one of their most recent creatives for out of home is taking headlines and adapting those headlines to suit most relevant news for particular audiences across the country, of which influencer is involved. So something we've built is the editorial exchange. So, and again, mentioning what Olivia mentioned here about, it's not just about talking deliverables and budget for influencer, it's thinking about the value exchange, both for the creators, the brand, and most importantly, the audience. How are they going to benefit from this campaign? And the editorial exchange in this instance is asking each of these ambassadors we work with at the Financial Times to hand select certain articles to feature as part of being a subscriber to the FT, but also co-writing a bespoke article that featured for 24 hours. So it's an easy way of encouraging audiences that really recognize these peers to want to convert through the paywall to have an opportunity to have access to content that is only accessible for the next 24 hours. So it was a kind of hybrid strategy of the world of marketing, so this more advertorial piece, but delivering editorial value. And of course, the creators felt benefit from that, being that they were reaching new audiences through this very well-known heritage news source.
Yeah, love that. And I think one of the things that, again, I'm hearing from this, and you already said, we've found ourselves working quite a lot with publishers. The reason you've probably done that is because you've found a framework that is working. And one of the things I think is coming out of Omnichannel, and Olivier touched on it with all the work that he's been doing, is creating this Omnichannel blueprint. So we can, once we've done it with one organization, it's repeatable, isn't it? And that's what I think is really so exciting. I'd just like to get your views on another well-known campaign that is multi-award winning, and they have really embraced Omnichannel, and that was the Real Beauty campaign from Dove. And one of the reasons I really love that is not only because it used what I would call everyday influencers, but it used TV, it used print, social media, long form video, educational content and PR partnerships as well as of course using in-store packaging and POS. So, and it's still producing this community, you know, to this day. So just your own thoughts about Dove, Olivia.
Gordon, you have a few gray hair, meaning that you've been in marketing before influencer marketing. And I think you remember the brand platform. I think you remember the blend. I have gray hair as well. I think you remember that Dove has had a brand platform into Real Beauty even before social media. So we've all known and loved Dove for that brand platform. The way they have integrated influencer marketing within the existing mix, within the existing brand promise, it really makes sense. You would not see something, you would not want something else from them. So that consistency over time, you know, for many brands, bringing influencer marketing can be a change in their business model. Which can then become a problem. Why is Hermès not using influencers? Because before influencer marketing existed, still they were not into celebrity. You would not see Hermès launching a perfume with the face of a girl. No, there was a horse. There was an artist. There was an artisan. So when these influencer stuff came in, no, doesn't make sense. But Hermès has always produced events, hosting friends, artist, client. As such, if an influencer happens to be a legit friend of the brand, client of the brand, that influencer would end up being invited. As opposed to it, last week I had a very interesting conversation with Tomorrowland, the music festival. And they said, like, the guy from marketing said, no, we don't do influencer marketing. I was like, come on, shut up. Of course you do. Every single DJ you get in has 30 million followers. So he's like, no. I'm like, come on, stop. Your job is to host people. And when there is this festival happening, out of 300,000 guests, at least 300 or 3,000 are influencers who purchase a ticket, and you are in the business of hosting people. As such, you are already doing influence marketing, whether you want it or not. So to go to that, why Dove campaign is so true to itself and so effective is because the influencer piece came so organically. Then it raised the question of execution. Do these kids joining the Dove campaign look like they've been paid or forced to be there, or do it looks good? And this is where, for FMCG brand, it's hard. You know, we have a few of these companies as clients. Think of the P&G, Henkel, and Unilever of the world. Not easy for us, for them, to do things with influencers that look authentic and organic because it's pre-commercial.
Right. Janet, you want to add?
Yeah, I want to add something to Dove. I think this campaign has been going on for like 35 years, right? Ogilvy, I think, is doing something very unique with this campaign because actually they never promote the product. They actually try to change a societal problem. You know, whether it's diversity or now they're trying to challenge the AI part of beauty. They challenged the TikTok's golden glamour filter, which they said, like, turn your back to golden glamour. They never really promote the product. They try to create idea of this brand associated with something positive, something that is bigger than a product. And I think this is why Omnichannel in this perspective becomes so effective, because you actually want to read and see this in the news. You want to, watch it organically. You want it in your email. It's interesting. It's something beyond a product push. So I think this is one of the main pillars for why they're so effective across all media.
Yeah, great. Joe, what's your thoughts?
I mean, it's people trust people, and that's where Dove are really honing in on. And it was mentioned at the very start again. Dove have really carved the path on reminding brands that just because you're a brand doesn't mean that you can't be approachable as a human is. And really, they've been listening to society issues and dealing with that head on. So it's culturally relevant advertising with a real message that will, of course, last, because the problem exists for us as humans rather than or any other instance. I've been privy to all of the things that the Dove team, and in particular Ogilvy and their influencer marketing team, and well connected with them with regards to how they approach it. And it is great. I mean, one example in creator campaigns in particular is the lack of diversity. It feels like it's starting to get much better just because there's a lot more education in the industry in particular. But I feel for Dove, they really led the path there, because it wasn't just about working with creators because they have 1 million followers, or celebrities because they are global icons, but actually spent time in identifying real voices that could add their own perspective into the different subjects that they've been talking about, whether it's AI or skin tone or anything else that they've been speaking about so heavily. So yeah, I applaud them to what they do. And I mean, it's a prime example of consistency when it comes to Omnichannel, because no matter where you see Dove, you instantly recognize it's them. So it's a smart approach.
Yeah,
Gordon,
I
would like to jump a little bit into some of the Q&A that is related to this topic.
Sure.
We have Sherry Wu from Boston Consulting Group with us, from also a member of our community. So she's asking, and I think this is really relevant for Olivier, especially because he's been working with a lot of these skincare brands. So she's asking, Dove is more a branding campaign, not a product campaign. Question is, to other skincare brands want to do something similar, how to succeed? Dove has already taken the space of confidence.
Very interesting topic of skincare, because skincare requires a bit of technicality. As much as you believe a creator and follow influencer for skincare products, still you need that mix of the influencer and the dermatologist or pharmacist. And I was giving a speech a few weeks ago at L'Oréal on that topic, and I told the guy at L'Oréal, you have to think of influencer together with ChatGPT. Whatever an influencer say about that skincare recipe, ingredient, formula that works better, blah, 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 consumers are going to check. And in the past, they would check with pharmacists, dermatologists, but that could not be immediate. But now we see a lot of these. What she says, I'm checking on GPT. And I mean, I don't like talking about my skincare routine, but I have done the exercise. Like, I'm losing my hair. So I bought these L'Oréal products because influencers said it works. And I checked with ChatGPT if what the influencer and Vichy say actually is true.
Love that.
I'm still there. Huh? I'm still there. No, but
Still
joke
there.
aside, joke
Still
aside.
there.
Talking about skincare versus makeup brings the topic of technicality, science, medical. And this is where whatever the creator does, it's not enough. Skincare CMO are looking a lot at what they call medi-influencers, which are influencers with a medical background. We see a lot of this. Pabola, I don't know if it answers the question of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just conscious of time a little bit. But thank you, Olivia. That was really helpful. Joe, did you want to just have a final word on that, and then I want to ask about messaging?
Yeah, just really briefly. I think Sherry's right. It's a brand campaign, not product campaign. That being said, on the subject of Omnichannel in particular, that doesn't necessarily mean that products weren't sold. And so measurement is crucial, which is often something that's dropped or forgotten when it comes to planning a brand campaign, because the outcome will be sales, providing the branding campaign is done correctly. So maybe that could be a whole subject on its own about reporting.
Absolutely. Great. I'm going to stick with you, Joe, and just ask a little bit about integrated messaging. So what does that look like without becoming repetitive or diluted across various channels?
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier, social media is fast paced. So you really do have to consider keeping things fresh to make sure that you avoid boredom in the space, which could be easily achieved. Ultimately, my recommendation is one creative to rule them all, and then adapt that creative to ensure that it fits the media and it fits the different, maybe the slightly different types of audience segments on that media. Whether that's seasonality, new store openings, product offerings, sales, the messaging will need to adapt, but it needs to remain similar for that consistency. I mean, a really great example of that, another publishing brand we work with, so the Week Junior or the Week magazine, the adult version of the weekly news magazine, it's much easier for them because news is so fast paced. And so they can adapt messaging very easily to tap into culturally relevant moments. And actually, it lends itself to think about the overarching creative is one thing, but actually with regards to the integrated messaging, the call to action, that's something you can adapt very easily. And I would highly encourage organizations to reconsider what that call to action may be. It's not necessarily adapting the click the link to get a different offer. It's adapting the actual behaviors that audiences will naturally make when receiving some form of content, i.e., click save and come back to this content when you're ready to do so. Or if this isn't right for you, then share it with somebody you know it will be right for instead. So I think that's a suggestion, the biggest suggestion I can make when it comes to making sure things don't feel too repetitive.
Jana, you go.
I have a very important question. So Olivia actually touched upon it. The buyer journey has shifted significantly. When we see influencer do something, we ask ChatGPT. When we see a colleague post something on LinkedIn, we ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT is becoming a part of this omnichannel. How the F do we control what ChatGPT is saying? And is it possible?
Yeah,
I'm not
indeed.
taking
Did you say you were taking that question?
He's asking me to answer on behalf of ChatGPT. I have no clue. No, of course. No, certainly Instagram stories are not being seen and read by ChatGPT. And what I like with AI is that it brings back bloggers, YouTubers, longer form of content that is more documented. Mais bon, it's very likely that ChatGPT is now going to read and understand videos on TikTok, etc. No, it just in the content ecosystem, SEO, text, etc. has rarely spoken with influencer marketing. I rarely see a client doing influencer marketing and bringing the guys from SEO, but now it's needed if there is an element of technicality.
One of the reasons why I'm asking this, Gordon, is actually that ChatGPT is now indexing Instagram, and it's indexing Instagram because of Google is indexing Instagram. So I think
they're going to
it's
index a lot of shit, huh?
Yeah. But this is where the algorithm needs to figure out what is shit, what is not shit, right? And in this very time, there's actually possibility to optimize for that. I've been working between buyers of agencies and agencies for Influencer Marketing Hub, and I've seen how that buyer journey has changed. Now everybody asks ChatGPT about an agency. So actually, because we were ranking in the top of Google, we were the answer in ChatGPT. And the same way, you need to do social SEO to cover that part of the omnichannel with influencers. Influencers are ranking in the top of social algorithms. And you have to actually do a little bit of SEO work in influencer marketing now. You have to figure out within a specific skincare niche, who's actually the top ranked when you search on Instagram or TikTok, let's say skincare brands or skincare brands in Japan. You have to look at who is owning the space and basically start sponsoring them to own the answer in ChatGPT. And this is something that a lot of brands doesn't understand nowadays, that it is a default new buyer behavior.
Absolutely. Olivia, let's talk a little bit about measurement, performance, and attribution, because I think when you're looking at multi-channels, one of the challenges is how do we evaluate that effectively? So I was going to say, what KPIs matter most when measuring this? Is it reach, frequency, engagement, conversion, or is it more about long-term value?
I really don't like the KPI question. I don't know. I have been uncomfortable with KPI for 15 years because, of course, we are all happy to put impression, EMV, etc. I really like when my clients spend so much money that what we do with influencer can be tracked by the reputation tools that they have on positive sentiment, sell out, uplift in brand perception. That's the kind of things I like to play with. For example, for the city of Abu Dhabi, we bring to town approximately 3,500 influencers a year. That's a lot. It drives something in the range of 30 billion impression. BCG or McKinsey, one of those, is doing marketing analytics for the government. And they have proven that the most effective channel is influencer by asking the airport visitors, how did they got the idea to book a holiday? And that's the kind of very solid KPI that I like. Of course, when the brand cannot afford that level of tracking, I like when my EMV is 5 to 8 times my marketing spend. Voilà.
And Olivia, do you set these goals with them, or is that driven by them? I mean, is it because sometimes when people come to campaigns, they need some guidance as to what
do you want a truth? The truth is that in many instances, the client is afraid of it, not because of the client-agency relationship, but because of the client-CEO relationship. If the CMO is setting a KPI, which is, I want this to increase my footfall by 10% and my blah, 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 he's putting himself at risk versus his management. So I find that many clients actually lack of guts when it comes to setting KPI, as well as I think there's sometimes lack of investment. No, I would say there is a bit of basic discipline, which is what you spend needs to be 6 to 8 times less than the expected EMV based on industry practice formula. That you need to have a tool such as campaign.com or tracker or whatever that analyze positive, negative sentiment, especially if your brand has a perception issue. You need to feel at ease with the content that comes out. Yesterday, I was in Morocco. I was talking with a client. They are refusing 60% of the content. That is not good. You need to feel that the content you receive from the influencer is good. And when you do your assessment, you see the effect. If influencer marketing doesn't influence, then it's just spam. And that's a big concern for me is, are we doing spam or are we having an impact on perception. And I really don't like when brands talk about visibility. I like when they come and talk about perception.
Love it. Great.
Come with the problem. Sorry.
Yeah, that was great. Joe, what's your thoughts around this particular subject?
I mean, we don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to KPI setting if you're taking omnichannel strategy. That said, I do think engagement should be considered as one of the priorities. And it goes back to what I said at the very start, it's audience experience. And that will drive a longer lasting impression and therefore drive better value for any investment when it comes to delivering a message to audience. Something I did want to touch upon is the direct versus indirect measurement. And that's something that really should always be considered in any single or omni-channel strategy, because it's all too often lost, in particular when it comes to creator partnerships. Whilst there are various tools available to be able to measure the direct response, actually, from our own perspective, whenever we look into the indirect success following any creator or omni-channel strategy we've delivered, it's higher, because our audiences are smart when it comes to advertising. They're commercially savvy and becoming more so. And so clicking a link to get the deal there and then is certainly less of a conversion when it comes to then measuring, for example, search. I mean, one real life example, we worked with a new brand in the US last year. And after the first quarter of working together, where we delivered, it was around 60 influencers. It wasn't huge, but not small. But they did see a 56% increase in audiences actively searching via Google their brand. And naturally, what they saw adjacent to this was an increase of the orders. So they could see an impact, but couldn't collectively put it back to influencer, but it was obvious it was the only new channel that they were leveraging at the time. So there's lots to be done. It's halo impact, and there are lots of tools that are available.
Amazing. I mean, we've nearly come to the end of our initial time for the chat. I'm just going to finish with one final question, really, before we do that, Janet, which was just about literally which channels do you think are going to be more essential over the next 2 or 3 years? So sort of final thoughts, really, guys. If I start with you, Olivia. Oh, can you not hear me?
Sorry. I would say combining influencer marketing with event production. Hosting.
That's nice and quick. Great. Thank you. Joe, and yours?
Mine leans onto something Instagram are trialing in the States right now, actually, and it's social and TV, and how audiences will be digesting content. So Instagram is being tested right now to serve content on television as a standalone channel, and that will certainly be rolled out if it works. It's the flashback to Instagram TV, but with a different course.
Yes.
And so, and we see it already, Lad Bible, there's so many other who've started as social, but now accessible on television. I think the way audiences digest content, Netflix is another example of this, has changed the game for the way that brands can advertise to audiences. So the hybrid crossover of television and social will be something we'll see quite significant this year.
Great. Super. Thank you, guys. That was really, really insightful, and being able to share some case studies, I think, will give our audience a huge amount of value. Jen, I think we're just going to finish with a few slides of what's going on. Well, 1 or 2. I can't hear you. Or is that just me?
By the way, I'm dropping my email in the chat if anyone wants to stay in touch, work with me, hire me, whatever.
Hire me, I love that. I can't hear you. Hello?
Okay. Janan, sorry.
I was going to sleep. Did you just want to share the finishing slides? No. Okay. All right. That's fine. No. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining us for the session today. And as always, keep in touch with the community. You can see lots of exciting things, lots of reports. The team have done a really fabulous job. So thank you very much.
I have one last word, Gordon.
Yes. One last
Influencer
word.
marketing with employee advocacy.
Yes.
Something
Very
to speak
personal to my
about.
heart. Yes.
Voila. And I know you have a
heart.
session happening. There was some question on the community about employee advocacy. How can you use influencers and your employees in a way that looks
yeah, that's coming. That's coming. In fact, I was having a chat with Daria about that only. Is it working now, your sound?
No, but yesterday I was looking the Instagram account of the CEO of Carrefour, like a major retail distributor. And the CEO of Carrefour on his personal Instagram was doing a video to present a new brand that is being sold at Carrefour with a creator. And I found it very cool that the creator of the brand was doing a video on TikTok with the CEO of Carrefour. That, I think, will make the employees even more proud of seeing the product on shelf.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes it way more authentic, Not just that, Olivier, in terms of recruitment, if you've got, the newest starters starting to create content about what it's like to work in that organization, then that will add so much more value to the people of that age, as opposed to them necessarily following a CMO or a CEO of an organization.
Yeah.
So
once I had a chat with the founder and owner of Air Asia, which is the equivalent of EasyJet in Southeast Asia. And I was trying to selling some influencer. And they said, look, I have 13,000 cabin crew members. They're stronger together than any other creators. And that was like, wow.
I know, absolutely. Yeah. Great stuff, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. All the best.
Take care.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.